Hi everybody and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process of building a codeless machine learning pipeline in Azure. We'll be utilising the design feature of the machine learning workspaces, which is essentially a drag and drop interface to prepping data and deploying your models. Now I won't delve too much into the whys of machine learning. I'm going to keep that for a separate video, so it's assumed that you have some basic understanding of machine learning techniques. But first, let me set the scene for this video and explain what data we will be using and the problem we are trying to solve using machine learning. So we're going to have a look at the popular Titanic Dataset from Kaggle, and the purpose of this competition challenged the user to build a machine learning model, specifically a classifier to predict, given a set of features or variables about a passenger, did they survive or not. If we have a look on the Kaggle page for this competition, this is where we'll find the training data as well as the data dictionary. So from reading the description, it looks like survival will be the column that we're trying to predict, and there looks like 9 other features which we can use as inputs to train our machine learning model. So I've already went ahead and downloaded this dataset, but I'll be sure to provide the links to Kaggle and the dataset in the description box below. So this is a basic machine learning pipeline that we are looking to build through the designer service on the machine learning workspace. I'm not going to do any manual feature engineering or pre-processing of this data, so the starting point is going to be the raw training data set. We will then look to see what columns we're going to use as inputs. So I've not done any exploratory feature analysis on this data set, but I'm going to remove really specific columns such as the name of the passenger, as I believe this could maybe have an impact on our model. We will then have a look to see if there's any missing data within the columns and decide how we deal with that. The next part of the pipeline will be the training data gets split into train and test sets. From that train set, we will train our model using a classifier algorithm of our choice. And finally, we will score and evaluate our model using the test dataset to see how accurate it is. So that is going to be the basic pipeline we are creating. Now remember, the purpose of this tutorial is not to build the best machine learning model, but to show you how we can take a codeless approach to building machine learning pipelines. So now we have a basic understanding of what we're going to build, let's jump into Azure. So now we're going to navigate to the Azure portal, so we can just do a quick Google search, Azure portal. First link usually does it, and up the top here, top right, is the portal link. Click in that, and that will take us to the dashboard here. So now what we want to do is search for the machine learning workspace, and we want to create a new Azure Machine Learning. So what you have to do is give the workspace a name, so we will call it Titanic ML. We will create a new resource group, Titanic ML. I'm going to put this in West Europe, and the workspace edition, which is very important for this demonstration, is the Enterprise edition, and that is because that gives you access to the designer feature which we will be using in this tutorial. So once that's done, we can hit review and create, and finally create. Now that takes a few moments to deploy, so I'll come back once that has been completed. So it looks like the resource has been deployed successfully, so we'll now navigate to that. We can just click on this link here, go to resource, and we want to launch the new Azure Machine Learning Studio. Once that's loaded, and you can see this is the designer feature here which we will be using. But first things first, what we want to do is go over to these assets menu, click on datasets and click create a dataset from local files. We want to give this dataset a name, so we'll call it Titanic Train. It's in the tabular form, it's a CSV. Next, we can use a previously created data store, or we can go ahead and create a new one. We'll just use a previously created one. We can hit browse. We want to use this Titanic Train dataset. We can hit next. That's just been uploaded. So it's made an attempt to load the data. It looks successful. Maybe one thing to note is the header columns aren't aligned. Everything else is looking okay. So what we want to do is change this drop down here, so use headers from the first file. And we can see that's fixed that issue. Everything else is looking okay. Next. At the moment we want to keep all these columns in the schema. Hit next and hit create. So that has successfully created a dataset for us to use, which will be needed in the next steps of building the pipeline. So now we will look to actually create our pipeline. So if we go to pipelines, designer, and here we can create a new pipeline. Just hitting this one here. So if you can remember from the diagram I showed earlier, the first part of the pipeline is actually loading in the raw data set. So we will do that. So to do that, you can go datasets, and we can see it's already here. So we can just bring that in. The next part of the pipeline is to choose the column. So look at data. This one here, select columns and dataset. And what we want to do is just join these ones up. And we go in here, so it's asking us to select the columns that we want to use. So we want to include the survived, passenger class, we don't want the name, remember, sex, the age, siblings, ticket, fare, and the cabin. So the ones that we're really omitting from this data set is the passenger ID and the name. And the reason for that is they'll probably be too specific for building a machine learning model. And we'll just hit save there. So go back to our machine learning pipeline diagram, and we can see that the next part is the clean missing data. So go back to here. So this is removing data that is missing from our data sets. So we can do this quite easily if we go to datasets, Titanic Train, explore, profile, And this section here gives us various statistics on the features inside our data set, one of them being which data is actually missing. So we can quickly go to here, go to missing count, sort that on descending, and you can see that age seems to be the only feature which has missing data. So that will be the one that gets transformed in the pipeline. So knowing that, we can go to designer, go to the new pipeline which we just created, go to data transformation, we want to clean missing data. So the columns to be cleaned is age, save that, and the cleaning mode that we wish to use is remove the entire row. So any rows where there is no age, that will just be omitted completely from the data set. So last thing here is just join those up. It's probably worth mentioning that removing the entire row from a data set can sometimes have negative consequences, maybe introduce some sort of bias. So it's not a method that we use all the time. Other means could be that we take the mode or the median and use those values to replace the missing values. But in this instance, we're just going to remove the rows. So if we go back to our diagram again, we can see the next part of the pipeline is to split the data into train and test data sets. So back to Machine Learning Studio, we can see the split data function here, and we want to use a fraction. So this field here is the ratio from training to split. So I'm going to use 80% for training and 20% for test. And that is all that's needed here. We can then just join this up there. So now the data has been split into train and test, we're now actually going to train the model. So we need two items for this here. The training model, and we actually need to choose the model that we're going to use. So this is a classification problem. I'm just going to choose this boosted decision tree here. No particular reason, it was just the first one on the list. Again, this is just to show you how to build the pipelines rather than trying to build the best model. And we just join this to here, the input model to here, and we need to provide a label column, and we're trying to predict the survived. Save, and that will provide the training for the model. So our machine learning model is coming along pretty nicely now. The only two parts left for this is to score the model and evaluate it. So we'll drag along the score feature here, and we can just bring in evaluate as well. So what we want to do is join this one to here and bring this one to here. We can look at score. Yeah, that looks absolutely fine. And we'll bring this over to here, evaluate the model. And that is actually our full pipeline completed. So guys, I'm going to leave this video here. In the next few videos, I'm going to show you how we can create a new compute cluster to train this model and eventually deploy the model onto the Kubernetes service. So make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to keep it up to date.